to day 5. Today is all about gratitude, and believe me, I am so grateful that you have come this far 5 days consecutively. That means a lot. Usually people drop off after 2 to 3 days. It's just hard to keep up with life and your commitments. I get it, not judging ya. So I'm just so grateful that you're here, you're watching, and you're learning with me. And hopefully moving and sweating a little bit as well, because today we have our mobility warm up in the very beginning, and then we have our 16-minute HIIT workout, and then ending with a little 5-minute mobility to really open up those joints and make sure that we're actually functionally increasing that range of motion. So let's get started. So today for our warm-up, we're going to really focus on what the shoulder blades are doing. So these get really complicated. So I'm just going to show you from the back here. I want your arms out straight in front of you. Keep the shoulders just relaxed. And I want you to think of pressing your shoulders forward away from the spine and then squeezing them back. Now try not to do it by bending in the arms as well. Whoop, don't want my toe to get stuck. And then keep the arms straight. So press forward, pull back, press forward, pull back, press and pull. Now we're going to mix it up, and I want you to think shoulders up towards your ears, pull back and down toward the ground, and then forward away from you. Up, back, down, forward. All the while the arms are still the same, right? Up, back, down and forward. Now reverse it. Down, back, up and forward. Down, back, up and forward. And the goal really here is to try to just increase that awareness of your shoulder blades. It's usually not so much a mobility restriction. It can be, but a lot of times it's just our lack of awareness of where our shoulder blades are in space. So starting with your arms at your side, starting with your arms here, and then working so that you can get your arms overhead and doing the exact same thing without trying to move in the chest too much or without using your arms to really pump and fuel where your shoulders are going. So we want this dissociation from this upper arm here to the shoulder blade. So it's just going for a ride based on what the shoulder blade is doing, but it's not actually driving the motion. So you see the difference there? And when we start to actually catch myself, so if I start to do this, oh, let me not bend my arms, let me keep it straight, keep the motion. Oh, I bend again, keep it straight again. And then this is how you start to work it back, okay? And then we're gonna go into adductor rock. So you can be on a mat. I just have mine ready because we're gonna go into slider things. So hopefully you have towels, I didn't say that, or really slippery socks, or socks on that you can slide on carpet with, whatever it may be. We're gonna put our leg out to the side. Now with adductor rocks, what I see a lot happening is just rounding in the back and going as low as possible. I'm sure that you can get your heel to touch your bottom, okay? That is not the goal for adductor rocks. I want to keep my foot flat, and I actually want to find where kind of like a midpoint between super extended and super round is, and find that and hold in my core. Now balancing that and not letting it round, how far back can I go to get a good elongated stretch through that adductor and then coming back. So again, as far back, opening up that adductor, that inner thigh, and then coming back. We often forget to mobilize this, and it becomes really tight because your adductors are actually one of the muscles that's really helping, and then go to the other side as well. So only about 5 to 10, that's all we have time for these rocks before we get started. But those adductors are really holding in terms of balance, and they help you. They're one of the main drivers and one of the main muscles to help you balance. So they're working a lot, more than you would ever think. Every step we take is kind of a single leg stance, so your adductors are turning on, and if we're not mobilizing, that's where we can get a lot of pain into the SI, restriction in the hips, restriction all the way down to the knees. So kind of see how it starts to work its way together. Now, I'm gonna fold my mat up so that I have a little comfort off my wrists, and I'm gonna put my feet on some sliders. And we're getting started with the first move is mountain climber. So in order to take pressure off the wrist, you could just drop the fingers over the mat, and then it decreases the amount of extension you need, And when we do a mountain climber, you want to feel like you're pulling that knee up toward your chest and dropping that rib cage down and then switching. Okay, so we don't want to pull from the back here or pull from the knees. That's where a lot of people will get clicking or back pain. I want to press with my shoulders, drop my rib cage under, and pull my knee up toward my chest. Okay, when I stay in this position here, then I feel it a lot more into my abdominal region and a lot less in my back or in my hip flexors. So really good cue to use there. Okay, then we're gonna stand it up. So I'm gonna have one foot on each of the sliders here, okay? And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come out to an adductor reach. So sliding out here, coming up, and then reaching behind me into a bend, okay? So let me move that out of the way. Okay, so out, and I'm gonna keep my knee in line with my hip. My hip comes back, press it up, cross behind me, and kind of pull those inner thighs in as I lunge and I curtsy. Okay, so again, hip back with my hand, hip back, and then coming up, and then knee behind, squeezing those adductors, and then coming up. And I'll keep cueing and show you different angles as we go, okay? But that's just kind of how we're getting started there. Okay, next one. This is a fun one. So you're gonna place your feet on your sliders and we're gonna run, but we're only gonna run in place, so it's gonna look a little funny and it's gonna go off to the side. So it's one foot off to the side and then running it. So the goal here is to stay low and to get the heart rate up. Now, one thing that we're always continuing to work on is opposite arm, opposite leg, right? So as I come down, it's opposite arm, opposite leg. If you find yourself rounding and you find a lot of back pain, shift your gaze. Remember, shift the gaze, look up, get that booty reaching back so that you're not on your knees too much, because if we're up here a lot, it's a lot of forward pressure down into my knee, and that's where a lot of people can complain of a lot of knee pain. So we want to balance that out, especially when we have a lot of load or more cardio-based exercises. Rather than pushing into my knee, how can I come into my back hip more, okay? Then we're going to come back onto the mat and we're going to do a push-up if you want to. You don't have to a pull through, okay? So what I'm going to do here, hands out. So either you can stay in this plank or you can add the push-up, pull my knee in and pull through, switch and pull through, okay? So I'm sliding. So I'm gonna do a push-up, up, pull through here and through here. If it is too much for the arms, especially after that mountain climber, or if you want to for the mountain climber as well, you can place your hands on an ottoman or a couch or a low couch, and you can have your elbows here as you pull through, okay? What we want to be sure is pressing into the elbows and reaching across here, and then that's going to help to take some pressure, obviously off the wrists because your hands aren't on the ground, okay? So those are all the movements. Not too bad, right? We got 3 more rounds. Remember, as I talk, you move, observe, feel it in your body, change it in your body as you can. Okay, so going into it again, I'm going to place my hands. You can go on that ottoman if you want to, or low couch, pressing the fingertips into the floor and shoulder blades into the floor. So just like we practiced from here to push, a big push, pulling that belly button up toward the rib cage and moving. Now again, most important cue here is that you breathe. So that's when people overuse the hip flexors, they stop breathing as much and they start getting this popping and cracking. That means you're probably not pushing as much from the upper body anymore and you're letting that core go. So keep that rib cage up and then you'll notice that you feel it a lot more into the core, okay? Then coming up, going into our side lunges, okay? So adductor lunge, woo, stuck to my toe. So hip back, okay? So if I'm from the side, my gaze is out, my hip is gonna come to the back here, and then I'm gonna pull into my inner thighs, and I'm still gonna sit to the back as I lunge. So again, hip back. So my knee, it shifts forward so that I can actually get into a squat, but it doesn't come too far forward. It's not dominating the movement here. So it's not a this, okay? And it's not this. This is where a lot of people go because they've been told knee over your ankle. So let me just bend over so that my knee can stay over my ankle. But it loses the function there, okay? So hip to the back, and we'll keep talking about it. How do these 45 seconds go by so fast, guys? I don't have enough time to talk. Whew. Okay, what did we have next? Oh, the running. My bad. Jogging in place. So again, out, this is where you can really practice that you're not gonna fall over to the floor and just dump your chest down to your knee, but you're gonna stay looking up with your hip coming to the back, opposite leg reaching out and staying as low as possible as you go out and in, out and in. And where you should feel this really is the glutes. As you keep going, hips to the back, chest is up, whoo! And you might feel a little bit of inner thighs. Good thing we opened them up a little bit, right? In the beginning, breathing, whoo, continuing through, and time. Okay, then getting the mat out or the ottoman, whatever you feel more comfortable with. And we're going into the push-up to the pull through. Okay, again, push-up is optional. You don't have to do it. Squeezing the bottom, up, and then pull the knee in and pull through. Knee in and pull through. Now here's the cool thing about this. It's gonna work obliques, not by looking and twisting, but because my upper body and my sternum is gonna stay parallel to the floor, and I'm gonna rotate through my hips. So it becomes like, again, talking about this dissociation thing today. How can I move my hips on my trunk by utilizing my obliques? So that is the goal for this one. Keep that sternum facing the ground, parallel to the ground. Keep looking at the ground as you pull your knee in and through. It makes it so much harder because now you're really utilizing that core. Okay, we're halfway. How are we feeling? Doing well? Doing good? Feeling good? Hopefully. Okay, so now we go right back into those mountain climbers. Now you can mix up the mountain climbers if you want to feel even more obliques by pulling the knee to the opposite elbow, okay? So again, it's a big press against the floor, so it's not around here, but it's a push away from the ground and opposite knee to opposite elbow, and you play across your body this way. The legs are almost just going for a ride based on how I pull from my hip to my rib cage, my hip to my rib cage. And when you start to feel that work, that's where you're really gonna maximize what's happening just within the core. Guys, I'm already sweating. I used to say, I don't sweat, I glisten. Now I sweat. What happened? Okay. Next, we're coming up and we're going into the adductor to the lunge, okay? So, whew, lots of things flying off. So, going into that adductor lunge, so hip to the back, reach, almost single leg, so see my knees in between like my second and third toe, my hip is back, and then I cross, my hip stays back, but my chest is up, okay? And then opposite. Hip stays back, chest is up, hip stays back, adductor squeeze, and up, okay? And when you lead from the hip and then you allow the knee to bend, it just puts you in your natural body tone. Know that all our hips are shaped a little bit differently. Our femurs, so the bones right in front, are different lengths. So my squat is not gonna look like your squat. It's not gonna look, I mean, we'll have similar squat patterns, but in different categories based on femur length, based on the hips and the way that they're structured. So we can't expect to all look the same. That's why if you lead from the hip back, keep the chest up, and then bend, you're gonna find your own natural place to be there, okay? Again, look at me. Keep it going. Opposite arm, opposite leg. So check it. How are you going? Same. We don't want to be here. Going side to side. That's a dance move. We want to go opposite. So hip back, opposite arm in front. So stop yourself if you need to. Slow it down if you need to. Actually, I shouldn't have said that, because then you'll go slower. So hip back, breathing, chest up, staying low, and pumping those arms. Use your arms to help you gain momentum. It's just going to naturally kind of pump those legs at the same time, and you'll realize you're getting that heart rate up in no time. Whew. All right, pulling that right back out. So again, push-up is optional. You don't have to do it. If you do, thumbs are in line with the nipple, elbows naturally go back at a diagonal. Everything moves as one. Knee in, chest parallel, and pull through. Knee in, pull through. Okay? Down, up, knee in, pull through, knee in, pull through. And keep going just like this. So you should feel core, upper body, pushing away from the floor, pulling that knee in and through, in and through. Woo. Keep it going. In, across, in, across. Are you looking down the whole time, or are you looking at that foot? The foot's not going to go anywhere. Don't worry. Still attached to the body. Okay. I'm sweating now. I'm ready for the last round. How about you? Last round for this one. So I'm going right into those mountain climbers. Whether they're in the middle or they're pulling across to the sides, okay? Find what you want. Maybe you do both. Okay, I just want you to make sure you're not clicking through those hips. If you're clicking through the hips, again, reset. Am I pressing away from the ground? Am I pushing the shoulders into the ground, my shoulder blades? Am I pulling that rib cage up? Am I leading from pulling that belly button up toward the rib cage? Okay? And breathing. Are you breathing? This is all going to be so crucial in order to make sure that you're moving through the exercises as efficiently and effectively as possible. That's always the key here. Okay, and again, I stopped 10 seconds earlier. Hopefully you didn't. I'm just trying to take breaks because now I'm exhausted from talking. Excuses. Okay, going into that lunge, to that curtsy, squeeze those inner thighs, and then come up. Oftentimes, what I find here is that we're not using those inner thighs enough. We're not working them. We're neglecting them in exercise. So not being afraid to use them is going to be so powerful. Again, we use it every step we take. So actually activating them, make sure we're creating that good stability in the hip and in that pelvis region. So crucial, guys. Whew. Breathing, coming out, pulling across, pulling up. So close, so good. Whew. Okay, 2 more exercises, 1 more cardio, 1 more strength. You got this. Okay, then we get to end with some sweet, sweet mobility. Okay, so getting as low as you can, pumping those arms, breathing, okay? Whew. Pump, pump, pump. Stay low. You got it. If you put a smile on your face, it makes it seem like it's not as bad, even though it is. Okay, getting those legs out, hip back. So remember, is that hip back? Is that opposite arm in front? Can you run it through? Stay as low as possible with that chest still up. As low as possible, hip back as much as possible. Chest still up, not bending down toward that knee, right? Keep it going, almost done. Whew. Okay, last one here. So we have our push up to our pull through or just the pull throughs. Again, hands on the ottoman if you need to. Okay, so here we go. Going into push up, elbows toward the diagonal, just nice and natural. Knee in, keep that chest down and back. You can add a push-up between each one, and that's definitely going to increase your upper body demand, or just stay. Breathing, pressing, crossing that leg, getting it as far out as you can. Maybe you feel different restrictions in your body. You feel different muscles. You're not used to feeling as much. And who knew you can feel it in just 16 minutes. Oh, okay, guys, that was good. All right, now, to help yourself off a bit, we're going into our mobility. Okay, so we're taking it down, 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 down to our ankles and to our feet. Okay, so this one you can do on an ottoman or on a chair. It's usually a lot easier for people to do on a higher surface, especially when you're restricted. So I've shown it many times on Instagram. You would put your foot on the chair. Obviously this knee would not be on the chair, it'd be off to the side, or a bench, and then you can kind of use the chair to stabilize you, whether it's at the top or at the bottom, and kind of pull down. Okay, the goal is to get this heel to the floor. Now it's okay if it's not fully on the floor in the beginning. We're just breathing here and trying to melt into it. So I'm going to show you from the front as well, because what people usually do with ankles is that they'll come out to the side here. But if you notice, if I cheat and drop my hip off, when I'm doing that, my femur is coming on the inside of my toe here. And that's not how we lunge, that's not how we squat, that's not how we want to walk through life, really, especially not to create that stability, okay? We want to really have it right on top. So take that hip, pull it back, and then again, push it down. So it makes even more sense as why I say pull that hip back when we're in those lunges and squats and stuff. And this is a prime example. Pull that hip back and naturally starts to align you, okay? And then we can lean forward, grab onto the chair or bench, and get a little bit more, excuse me, stretch into that ankle. Okay, so we're not going to do a full ankle mobility. We are holding it for 2 minutes on this one, and then we're going to hold it for 2 minutes on the other. And you want to hold it for at least 2 minutes, because especially when we're talking about a deep joint, it is really hard to open. Go ahead and switch. It's really hard to open that area and actually create change if we're only doing it for 10 to 30 seconds, especially with a deeper ankle or a deeper joint like an ankle, a hip, a shoulder. You have to hold it for time, okay, if we actually want to create change. So holding it for at least 2 minutes every single day, it would make the biggest change in your body. Now, you might feel like, when do I have time? But we're doing it now. I'm talking to you. Say you were talking to someone and you just finished working out, and before you head out and just kind of diddle-daddle and chat about how the workout was, you sat in this stretch. Okay, there's always ways to create stability after we hold the passive hold. We're only going to focus on the passive hold right now because it at least introduces it to you and gives you a way of what it feels like. But if you keep learning with me, again, I take you through passive and active mobility, and we get to spend a little bit more time. I talk a lot, if you can't tell. But the reason I do it is because I don't want you to just do the motions. I want you to understand the motions. And when you start to learn, I mean, we've heard before, I'm sure you have, knowledge is power. And when we have the knowledge of our own body, that's pretty powerful. So that's where it becomes even more like distinctful, right, in our lives. So now we're going to tuck the toes under, and this is where it becomes really painful for people. So, and if you can't sit on your heels, then there's a different stretch that I've definitely shown on Instagram. I did it recently when I made my coffee in the morning, and I kind of showed my morning routine. It's a great one because you could just put your toe up to the edge of like a wall or the molding, just like an edge, and then just drop your toe down so that it gets kind of into that stretch, and then you can kind of lean into it that way. If you can tolerate, I want you to drop into it here And just start to breathe. Now, see where you're at. Maybe you can only hold it for like 5 seconds at first. Maybe you can hold it for 10 seconds, okay? A lot of people who haven't been doing this, it's really painful. But the reason we want big toe extension is because that's what we walk over every single step that we take. And if we don't have adequate big toe extension, obviously it doesn't need to be this when we walk, but this is passive. So actively when we're walking over it and pushing, if we don't have that adequate big toe extension, we're gonna start to turn that toe in. Think bunions, think toe drifting in, okay? And then we start to roll into the foot more. Pronation, flat feet. Then we start to rotate up the chain. Internal rotation or external rotation of the tibia, of the femur. It starts to play a role up the chain. And so that's why addressing your feet, addressing your big toe, your ankles, so incredibly important. So I hope you take this with you and continue to work on it, continue to learn with me, because there's so much more. There's always more, right? So thank you, so grateful for you. I hope you have fun with writing down your gratitudes, and I'll see you next time.